Hello, Hormones Balance community. Exciting topic today, and just my own sort of journey of craziness and a little bit of honesty that sometimes I can screw up big time too. So my big screw up, total disclosure, happened a few months ago, yes, when for some reason, I don't know why, I'm sure there's some psychology behind it, I went on a bit of a dairy binge. And so it was all good stuff. It was like the Parmigiano Reggiano from Italy, or, you know, nice feta cheese and nice mozzarella, whatever. But it just did not work. And I suddenly developed a lot of my food sensitivities have come back. And so in my case, I just started reacting again to things like garlic, onions, anything that's on a high FODMAPs diet. So we're not gonna talk too much about that today, but those are just basically kind of forms of sugar that I found in these foods. And you might think like, wait, hold on a second, there is no sugar in onion. Well, actually there is. You just might not taste it particularly. And it's in beets and it's in celery. It's just so many wonderful things like peaches. I couldn't eat peaches over the summer. Can you imagine that, not being able to eat peaches over the summer? That's crazy. And I could, but then I paid the price for it, which was bloating, very unpleasant gas. Thank goodness I'm not dating anyone. Would have been very embarrassing. And, but then you kind of know that when your gut is in distress, it's just bad news all around. And I should know this better than anyone, as a practitioner, right? And if you follow my work for a while, you know that gut health is paramount when it comes to balancing your hormones as well. If you have my book or you follow me for a while, you know I always talk about the three-legged stool analogy. The three legs, for you to sit comfortably on a three-legged stool, you need to have really well-functioning digestion, a really clean liver, and a sugar balance that's really stable. Those three really govern good hormonal balance. So, and this is what, so with these food sensitivities, suddenly I can eat like probably 25 to 30 foods that were pretty regular in my diet, right? And so you can imagine like this is, and I know many of you here can connect to this when you say, when I say you come back from a doctor, you got IgG testing or, muscle testing, whatever you had done. And suddenly the practitioner tells you, oops, there's 35 foods you won't be able to eat, right? And it's a very disempowering thought. And I want to just give you some hope today in this call, because really what we want to talk about is why are food sensitivities happening? Why are you suddenly allergic? And also let's define this with our expert here, Steve. I'm going to introduce him in a second. The difference between allergies and food sensitivities or intolerances, there is a difference there. But anyhow, whether you're reacting to some kind of food, why is that happening? And why are you bloated? I know so many people here amongst us are bloated. One of the big things, I remember one of the big jokes in our community was that popularity of pants for women with rubber bands, right? Elastic bands, so that you can, even if you blow it up, the pants will grow with you, kind of a thing. And I mean, it can be funny, but at the same time, it's a clear sign your digestion is really struggling. So I really want to help you today to dive in a little bit deeper into what's going on, how to overcome this, what's causing food sensitivities and the bloating. And as you can probably figure out from the title of this conversation, it's got a lot to do with how you digest your food with the help of digestive enzymes. So with me, that wonderful man in the blue with a shirt that's matching his beautiful blue eyes is Steve Wright. And Steve is the founder of, some of you might know him from SCD Lifestyle back in the day. He's rebranded now to The Healthy Gut. And Steve has a long history of gut issues and has done some really profound work that is actually I've seen practitioners who are functional MDs going to him for advice of what to do with patients. So Steve, hi.
Hello.
Hello. We also happen to be personal friends, and both of us live in Boulder, Colorado. So that's brought us even closer together. And so the story of, when I was telling you earlier about my food sensitivities, and for those of you who are jumping on a little bit late, I was just saying that I screwed up. I started eating a lot of dairy and I developed a lot of food sensitivities. And when I saw Steve over summer, he said, you know what, I've got these enzymes that I'm just working on, and they're so different, they're so unique. And we're going to talk about that, what's so different about them. And he asked me to take them, and I did. And And I think it was like literally within 6 weeks, I started feeling the difference. And then, you know how you start experimenting and go like, okay, I'm going out, the soup is going to have lots of garlic and onion in it, but let's do it. And you come home and it's like, oh, I'm okay. Like, this is okay. Like, I can do this again. I can eat soup with onions again. Hallelujah. Right. And it just gives you so much of like, oh my God, like freedom and excitement. Right. And so I am so grateful for your product. I thank you for introducing me to it. And I've taken digestive enzymes before. In fact, some of you may know that we have our digestive enzymes in the store as well. So why am I inviting Steve here? It's kind of bad for my business, right? Not to have you here. But I invited you because your product is completely different, and you have such deep expertise in gut health. I really want to kind of bring that out. So where should we start? What do you think will be a good starting point for us?
Well, let's just start with where we're going to end up. So hope, you know, the holidays are coming up. They're right around the corner. I think if you've heard of me before, you may have heard this in my story, but I've struggled with all types of food sensitivities in the past. I've struggled with different types of binge eating disorders and cravings and things like that when it comes to food. So I have a very deep history with food. And this holiday season, I find for myself, and I think it's been reported to me by many people back, especially when I used to work with people one-on-one, that this is the time of the year when cheating is rampant. And some of it's like conscious and some's unconscious. And so hopefully today we're going to talk about what happens when you do eat foods that you know you struggle with, or if you're someone who's stuck on 5 foods or 10 foods and you're like, man, I really don't want to go to a holiday party again and have to bring my own food or not even eat at all. Hopefully, you know, our enzymes and some of the other tips we'll talk about today can get you through that and really bring these foods back in your diet, because I do believe a wide variety of vegetables and plants and, you know, a vast, you know, network of foods in your diet is ideal for long-term gut health. And so all of these types of elimination diets are great interventions, but long-term, the hope and what I've seen is totally real. And what you just spoke to is that with the right interventions at the right doses, we can really start to make some magic happen.
So let's talk about that. First of all, if you're just tuning in, let us know what are some of the digestive problems you're dealing with, and what have you done so far to help yourself? I'm curious to know about that. So let's talk about maybe like the first thing, you know, why do we develop suddenly these food sensitivities? That, I mean, this is like, you know, I remember like last year, there was this really great video was going around about Christmas, right? And it's like you're trying to invite people for Christmas dinner and they go, I'm vegan and I can do nuts and I can't do gluten and I don't do dairy, right? And I remember like laughing with my dad, and my dad is like, you know, 20 years ago, you just show up with whatever. And there was never an issue, right? And suddenly now people have legit, and I'm not saying here, I'm not implying that people are, what's the word, hypochondriacs, but it truly has become a problem. So why don't you tell us, like, what's your take on it? Why are we suddenly so sensitive to foods?
I mean, it's a multifactorial issue for sure. I don't think that I have the complete theory or understanding. I don't believe anybody does. I don't care what the researcher is, what the author is. No one has this figured out at this point in time. But I think there are some pillars in the story that we can begin to hang our hats on that are happening. So, for instance, one of them is you have to have an immune response. The immune system has to have a response to a piece of food that's inside of you. So, and when I say inside of you, I don't mean inside your digestive tract, but through your digestive tract into your, inside of your body, basically through the epithelial layer. So if a food particle that is of the wrong size or the wrong breakdown, or if it went through the wrong pathway to get there, such as a chronic leaky gut, your immune system is going to react to that. It's supposed to. It's saving your life in its world. And maybe over time it is. And so I think we know that a food sensitivity is partly immune system. I believe it's partly leaky gut. And then we have to say that it's some sort of malabsorption. The digestive tract is not doing its mechanical job. It's not getting the pieces of food, which are like these complex 3D molecules. It's not breaking those down into these single chains of very easily absorbable molecules. That's what the body needs. You know, if people are aware of different types of carbohydrates, they talk about poly, meaning many, di, meaning two, and monosaccharides, meaning one. And this is essentially like one sugar molecule, too many. And so we can't absorb many or two. We can only absorb monosaccharides.
So I want to just share with you, because just to your point, Karina here is saying leaky gut and bacterial overgrowth for me. I'm on crazy elimination diet so far for the past 2 months of gluten, dairy, histamine foods, eggs, etc. So there is no real question here. I'm wondering, I think she's just sharing because I've asked people to share their experience so far. What do you like, you know, without, obviously there's a lot goes into somebody's personal health history here, right? Why do you feel the elimination diet should not last forever? What can we do to speed up the healing process?
So there's, you know, foods, in my opinion, are on a spectrum of nutrition and inflammation potential. And so things like gluten provide some nutrition, but they provide a lot more possibility for inflammation and issues. And so can you live 100-year life feeling amazing and never eat gluten? I believe the answer is yes. I don't believe that there's a reason that you need certain grains, as long as you have a lot of other vegetables and a lot of other prebiotics and fibers in your diet. So removing those known allergens, so that could be things like gluten, like dairy, like eggs. These are known problems for a wide variety of people with a wide variety of issues. That helps the immune system chill out. It's no longer seeing those molecules, those proteins. It's usually proteins. That's the other thing. The immune system is typically reacting to proteins. And so it's not seeing those proteins, so it begins to relax over time. It's less vigilant. It's less on edge to rise up. When you start to remove all the different high histamine foods, all the different FODMAP foods, and you get away from like strictly grains or strictly certain types of protein that are a little more reactive, I think that's where the research seems to be very clear that, for instance, there was a study that in 1 week of healthy people removing FODMAPs or going FODMAP, a low FODMAP diet, which for most people, they don't actually realize that FODMAP is more about the total amount you're eating, not total abstinence. So going totally abstinent from FODMAPs is almost impossible. It's really intense. So even the FODMAP groups acknowledge that you're basically reducing your FODMAP load by 50 to 70%. So anyways, if you do that in 1 week, you lower your bifidobacter growth. So you already start to lower what we believe are healthy bacteria in your microbiome. The studies at 4 weeks show that short chain fatty acid production is way down. And that's when you start to really change the oxygen levels in your gut. You lose your butyrate. And you encourage the growth of opportunistic pathogens and dysbiosis. And so I believe after, you know, you can keep eggs, you can keep dairy, you can keep a certain meat out, certain grain out for quite some time and not suffer a long-term issue. But when it comes to whole classes of vegetables, all the fermentable fiber, all the starch in your diet, keeping those out for 4 weeks or longer without the ability to add them back in, at least 1 or 2 of them, I think is, I think we're looking at what I would start to call intervention dysbiosis.
Mm-hmm. So talk about bloating. Like, why do people get bloated? What is the response in the body that suddenly you have this sensation in the gut? Like, what's going on there?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. If you're bloated, you mostly want to fart, right? I mean, bloating is gas, and so bloating is fermentation, really. I mean, think about your kombucha or your sauerkraut. bacteria are fermenting your food.
Yeah, like leave a kombucha outside for like a couple of hours, not a refrigerator. You open it up, you know what happens, right?
Right.
Right. So fermentation that's going on in the gut.
Yeah. You're fermenting
foods that the body just can't break down.
Yep.
So tell us, like, what is it, like, why did it help me? Like, I am actually genuinely curious. What did those enzymes do in my case? And then I looked at your website and it's like, oh my God, it's story after story after story after story, video stories, like true story testimonials of people who had the same issue as me, just with different foods. So just replace the foods, same problem, and the result is the same, which is, oh my God, I can now eat these foods. So what is it that is so magical about digestive enzymes? And I want to talk about let's just broadly, but then I also want to talk about specifically, like, what's so different about your digestive enzymes, because like there's so many in the market. So why would you go and develop your own, right? But let's just talk about like generically on digestive enzymes, like how do they help?
Yeah. Are you getting some lag on your end?
No, I'm good. Can you guys hear me okay?
I'm getting some decent lag over here. So can we get some comments maybe just to check?
Yeah, there is a bit of a delay on comments from us. So let's just see what people are gonna say.
Okay. Well, hopefully
let's get the comments back and then we'll see. Agnes is saying, okay, no delay. People are saying it's all good. So I think it's on your end.
Okay, cool.
Are you streaming something else on your end, like some crazy movie? All clear, everybody's saying. Okay, good. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
So are you good to continue?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. So question was, why enzymes? Like, why are they helping suddenly?
Yeah, so I mean, look, people watching this right now, and yourself included, enzymes are not a new product. This is not a new idea. This is a known part of the digestion. It's needed for the mechanical nature of digestion. And enzymes, what they basically do is they cut the molecules up down into, from a polysaccharide, maybe like 10 pieces of sugar down to one piece, basically, and then you can absorb it. And so that's what enzymes do. Without them, your food is going to be malabsorbed, malbroken down. It's going to be the wrong sizes for absorption. That means you're not going to get the nutrition, and you're going to feed bacteria in a weird way. So enzymes, most integrative, naturopathic, functional, anybody outside of Western medicine is talking or is usually trying to use enzymes with someone with a bloating or a food sensitivity or any sort of GI upset. And being in this industry for almost 12 years now, I've just been so frustrated personally with the lack of consistent results I have achieved with myself and with people that I've worked with, that it was always kind of a crapshoot, right? It was like 30%. You know that if you give a certain brand, say, Thorn Dipan 9, it's a really high dose pancreatin enzyme. 30% of people are going to notice something. 30% are not, and 30% are going to be like, I don't know, maybe. And that seems to be kind of across the board with almost every enzyme product. And so I just got really mad at this personally, and I was like, this is a problem worth solving. What is going on here?
Can I just say one thing, is that when you were more in private practice, are you still in private practice? Do you still have personal clients?
No personal clients. We do have a support group where I do give personal ideas. But
so remember when you guys were still in coaching, you were getting such difficult cases where no one could solve them, and you were just getting like the worst of the worst cases where people were just not healing with even functional doctors. I'm not even talking about like our conventional doctors. And I remember one of the reasons why you guys, people had such transformative results with your programs and your approach that I remember them coming to you saying, screw this, I'm resigning from my corporate job and I'm setting up my own business to help other people because I want to know this stuff. I've helped myself and through this guy Steve, and then I want to do. And so you were such an inspiration for people, and so much healing. So this was really interesting to hear from you that you were. I didn't realize that that's how you you develop your own. So tell us a little bit, and we have questions coming in asking about, people asking, it's like, okay, stop talking, give us the info on his site. Okay, I'll post it.
Yeah, we'll post the link. So
I'll post the link. Well, you can tell us what's the big deal about holozymes.
Yeah, so holozymes
By the way, this is holozyme, you guys. That's what really, that's why you think I can have onions, garlic, and peaches. The peaches out of season now, so but like pears and celery juice.
Have you had any cheese lately?
You know what? No, I stayed off, but I like I have it like twice a month kind of a thing. That's my deal with myself. Yeah, that's that. Okay, so tell us about your holozyme here.
Yeah, so look, you know, there's 100 different enzymes on the market. There's a lot of really nice companies that make them, including Magdalena. And what I learned from going deep into this rabbit hole is I finally met the scientists behind the formulations, behind the manufacturing of the supplement industry. And what I found out is that a key piece of science had just not translated through to the supplement industry, which is that all enzymes need a mineral cofactor to work. They need energy in the form of a mineral, literally like electrical energy from electron donation, to turn on or be activated to do their job. And so without basically the right mineral at the right time, other enzymes, the reason why they work for one meal, but they don't work at the other meal, or the reason why they work sometimes, but not all the time, or with some person, but not the other person, is they're reliant on that mineral being in your stomach or in your intestine at the same time that you're taking the supplement. Meaning, who knows what the probability of that is, but it's kind of like, you know, trying to find a needle in a haystack. You need to take the supplement and make sure that you had the magical right amount of a mineral in the food you ate for the two to combine and work. And in science, if you want to go look this up, it's called an apo enzyme and a whole enzyme, hence the name holozyme. So whole enzymes are enzymes that are either made by us. So our pancreatic enzymes come out as whole enzymes. They're an enzyme bound with a mineral, but anything that's derived microbially, vegan in nature, it's an apo enzyme. It's missing that mineral cofactor. And so I found this researcher, and he had a patent on this and done 6 pilot trials trying to prove to the world that, hey, these enzymes are different. And he just wasn't very successful at getting the word out. So,
like a lot of scientists.
Yeah, he's a scientist. That's not, you know, he sat in a lab and dropped different types of protease and different types of amylase and different types of lipase in petri dishes with different minerals until he found the exact specific type of magnesium, not even just magnesium, but the specific type of magnesium that turns it on the best and makes it the most capable of doing its enzymatic process. And so, again, when I heard this, I'd already talked to several other high-end manufacturers, several other scientists. I would get their formulation and I would do what I told you was a chip test. So I love tortilla chips. I love my late July tortilla chips. They're like my vice. And I do happen to love a glass of wine. And so, but those two in combination usually mean that my stools are not going to be good the next day. They're probably going to be a little loose, a little misformed, and I'm going to be bloated and a little smelly. And so I would take these enzymes and I would do my chip test and I would eat my chips and I'd have my wine and see what happens. And it was just none of them were working. And then I met this guy and I bought his product. I don't even let these guys send me a free product. I buy their product to find out if it's true. And it actually worked. And I was like, okay, now you have to explain your patent to me. Now we have to like get into, you know, what is going on here. And so that's what it comes down to, is essentially in a capsule of holozymes, you have only whole enzymes, basically, in a way. Everything you need for it to work is inside that capsule, versus other, enzymes that don't have mineral blends. And you'll also see that this is not some like rare thing. You can look at many other supplement manufacturers and see that they have these random mineral blends for 10 milligrams, 20 milligrams.
Let's go there. And I just want to call out one question that came from Agnes, which is really good. Is this the same as the complete enzymes that I take? Can you just do a comparison, like
Which brand is that?
Was that?
What brand is Complete Enzyme?
Let's ask her. I wouldn't know, but I'm assuming when she says Complete Enzymes, it's probably I'm assuming it's got it's got the protease in it, and it's got lipase in it, and all the ACEs in it. I'm assuming, but let's see what she says about that. But just tell us, like, somebody, most people here are probably taking digestive enzymes. So what is the difference?
So here's what you need. You need a enzyme product that has pancreatic enzymes in it and brush border. That's one of the things that we found out when we were in practice is we could give Thorne Dipan 9 and Enzymatica Digest Gold, basically AT Pro or whatever. That is what is like one of the strongest animal-derived pancreatic enzymes on the market, and one of the strongest sort of brush border enzymes, mostly brush border. Digest Gold does have pancreatic enzymes in it, but we could give those in combo for really messed up people, and it would do a pretty good job. And that's kind of how I realized that, look, you have to have both, because if you're low in one, you're probably low in the other. So one, it should have both of those. Two is that you need them in like pretty solid dosage. So that's another thing that's really not like, look, none of us love taking supplements like every day or every meal, or think that we might be on them forever, blah, blah, blah. When you get results that are pretty amazing, like what you got, Magdalena, you start to think like, well, it's not that bad of a deal. In cancer therapy, Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez uses up to, well, he's passed away, but his books and his people that study with him take 100 to 160 capsules of enzymes per day. So whatever enzyme product you have, you can always double, triple, or quadruple the dose you're taking, and you're not going to cause ill effects unless you like have an ulcer or something, unless you have active ulcer or something like that. Obviously, don't go from like 2 pills to 8 pills without trying 4. But a lot of companies will cut costs by lowering the activity inside of the capsule. And so you can look at the back of the capsule. You want to get like 100,000 units of protease minimum per dosage, whether that's 1 pill or 2 pills. You want a lot of amylase, 20,000 units.
Amylase, you guys, is for carbohydrate breakdown. So that's a lot of them. A lot of people like having issues with grains and stuff that can help a ton. So, since you're talking about the product, one of the things that, people are saying is, there was somebody who just posted saying your product is really expensive, right? Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that? Because fair enough, right? You can go on Amazon and get digestive enzymes for probably $12 a bottle or something, or maybe 20, and yours is a lot more than that, right? You were talking about, let me just take a look at your pricing. So it depends. By the way, you guys, since we are on prices, we've got a special deal from Steve, which saves you $15 a bottle, and you get free shipping. And if you get more bottles, which I highly recommend, and the price is immediately going down, you can then save $72 or $174 by just getting the 6 bottles. And so if you have like a whole family with digestive issues, I highly recommend that. Talk about the price.
$15. The offer is $15 off your total order, no matter what kind of order you place. Okay. But if you do buy in bulk, you will realize that our bottles are, I think, under $60 a bottle for 180 capsules. So whatever you're looking at, make sure you look at the amount of capsules and the amount of servings.
So talk about the price difference, and I just want to steal that away from you just for 1 second. And one reframe I want to offer you guys is this: like, what is it worth for you at the end of the day to fix your gut? So you are free to eat whatever you want, right? So you can go out to a restaurant, and when I say whatever, it's like, I'm not talking about like going and binging on crap food, right? I'm talking about just going to a healthy restaurant and being able to order almost everything on the menu versus just going, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't eat this and I can't eat that, and can you not add this? And and then people just kind of roll their eyes on the next door table, going like, high maintenance here going on, which is not. Like, we do it because we just want to feel better. We don't want to get sick after a meal, right? So yes, it is not a cheap product. My supplements are not cheap either, mind you. And you can, we sell a bottle of magnesium for $36. where you can buy magnesium for $12 on Amazon. Question is it going to work for you? And the answer is no, it doesn't typically, right? So it's like the quality really can make a difference in this unregulated industry, because it's a crazy unregulated. You guys, I kid you not, I could just take a piece of furniture from my house, grind it up, put it in bottles, put it in capsules, create a nice label, put it up on the internet, and be in business. Like, I am not joking. That's how crazy unregulated it is. So, so when we say when somebody says expensive, it is basically, Steve was going to talk about the quality part, but I think the question to ask is that how important is it for you to have that freedom of healing your food sensitivity, so you're not a slave, you get that freedom to eat healthily and in a broad range of foods. Because remember also, when you're limiting your foods, you're also cutting out a lot of great nutrients that you are suddenly, like onions and garlic. It's great. Like, I keep teaching about this, like, eat garlic and onions because it's great for your liver, right? It's just so amazing. It's got all the sulfur in it. It's going to help you with estrogen detoxification. And here I am, I can't even eat the damn thing myself, right? How embarrassing is that? So anyway, talk about quality.
Yeah, look, healthy gut is, we make the best supplement in every category that we enter. So there's no expense spared. We are the best 100%. We actually have 6 pilot clinical trials in humans behind the product. We have a patent. Show me another enzyme that's done any research. The enzyme can be used systemically as well as digestively. The research, the pilot trials show that. So, I mean, my goal is to create the best product in the world that works for, I hope, 90% of everyone who buys it. Like, that's my threshold. If it's not going to work for 90% of someone in that market category, then I'm not done formulating, researching, working on this product. And so Holozymes is the market leader when it comes to getting results and activation. And I think that's why, the fan base is what it is. The testimonials are what they are. And I agree, we're not the cheapest, and that's fine. But I also believe that we vote with our dollars based on our values. So if your value on health is not at the level of our company, then I get it. That's why we do discounts and bulk buying, so that you can do those types of things. It's also why we have a 60-day money-back guarantee. So I have been in your shoes. I've been running up $500 a month on credit cards with functional medicine providers, taking 60 capsules with every meal, trying to heal from these things. So trust me, when I used to get all amped up from some guy's sales message or some lady's new idea about something, I'd buy the product and spend $100 or $60 or even $30 and then not see anything after 30 or 60 days.
Yeah. That's wasted money. I mean, totally.
Yeah.
Carrie is saying you get what you pay for. Very true. Although I will say there are expensive supplements that are also very badly manufactured. So that is just a little caveat here on that. Christy is asking, is there a code to get the $15 off? No, you don't have to enter any codes, Christy. You just check out, and that code is automatically applied in the shopping cart. Karina is asking, so would this be on top of the thorn supplement or something I can try after?
I would try it after, or buy it right now and stop and do a Pepsi versus Coke, challenge, right? Like, keep some of your current enzyme. The person who had the complete enzymes, whatever your current enzyme is, keep some in the bottle. Get Holozymes, test it for 5 days. Work with me if you're not getting the results, because sometimes people do need to take 4 capsules per meal if your gut's really banged up. And then switch back to your current brand. And if ours doesn't get you the results, then we'll give you your money back. I mean,
awesome. Let's talk about one of the things that we promised folks to talk about today is whether should you take the enzymes before a meal, after a meal, empty stomach. Tell us about the difference.
Yes. So the enzyme world is really broken into 2 areas, and one is with food and one is without. So what is with food? Basically, within 15 minutes of eating something to up to 90 minutes after you've eaten. That's with food. So if you take them, 10 minutes before you sit down to a meal, that's with food. If you take them 20 minutes after you last bite, that's with food. However, sometime in the middle of the day, before bed, right away in the morning, you take them on an empty stomach. That's without food. And those are called systemic enzymes. And if you look in the research studies, there's a significantly higher amount of data on systemic enzyme therapy for all kinds of conditions, from cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, athletic performance, helping with circulation, like amazing amounts of data on systemic enzyme therapy. And so what is systemic enzyme therapy? Well, it's basically just when the enzymes pass through the gut barrier and they get into circulation inside of our bodies. And for the most part, the majority of the work being done, we believe, is by the protease family of enzymes. And these enzymes go around and they basically gobble up junk in your blood, junk in your joints. And this junk is often things like excess fibrin. It could be circulating immune complexes or CICs. It could just be metabolites that are extra. All these types of things. The actual data on this, because it's not a pharmaceutical, is not that great. But when it comes to supplements, there's a decent amount of data on this stuff compared to, say.
So you're saying if you take Holozyme, let's say in between meals, do they then act as systemic enzymes?
Yes. Yes, they do.
Okay. So when you say in between meals, it will be like what, 2 hours before a meal, 2 hours after a meal? Like what's an in between?
Yep, that's a great barrier.
2 hours. Okay. Yep. Awesome. Let's see. Has any one of you, a question for you guys. How many of you here have taken digestive enzymes and has it worked for you? That is my question here. Talk about the difference between, because that's another thing we promise folks to cover today, is talk about the difference between digestive enzymes and just taking HCl, hydrochloric acid pills.
Yeah, well, let me just wrap up digestive enzymes and systemic enzymes. So,
sure. Sorry.
So high protease formulations like holozymes, which are activated, can be taken both with food and without food. Most of the systemic enzymes on the market, some of them have specific strains that holozymes does not have, but they don't typically include any of the digestive stuff like your pancreatic and your brush border enzymes. And so that's another bang for the buck that you get with holozymes. The research studies in humans that were done used holozyme 2 per meal and then 2 before bed. So 2 systemically per day and 2 with food whenever you eaten. We've seen basically clinically or in our support groups that if you're more banged up, you can benefit from 4 or 6 with your meal or without food for a little while, kind of like a loading phase. And we're talking like people dealing with edema, people dealing with joint pain, dealing with big toe pain that are related to many types of inflammatory disorders. And they're seeing results that they couldn't get on a lot of other combinations on top of just a relaxation in digestive issues. So I'm like so excited about these things because they really did actually help my life. Like I can tolerate more foods. People like Magdalena who have access to super high quality enzymes, they're also kind of bought in. And that's the cool thing when you get the science right and the formulation right. And so yeah, I would, again, that's where I go with the Pepsi Coke challenge, give it a shot and we'll back it up. But that sounds great, Carrie. I don't know if you're talking about holozymes. If so, we can. I don't
think she is. Okay. But I love your 60-day challenge. So it's 60-day refund policy, Carrie. So that's something you can take advantage of. If it doesn't work for you, just send it back to them, get a refund.
Yeah, and the other thing is this, Magdalena, but like there's the counterintuitive response person. So someone who's so banged up, who needs the substance so bad. For instance, magnesium. You can be so magnesium depleted that just a sprinkle of magnesium will trigger racing thoughts and like certain intensities that are just counterintuitive. Magnesium is typically a calming experience.
Yeah.
And so I expect that being the market leader in this, we're going to attract people who it doesn't work for. So I want to give you your money back and push you to a different category of supplement until your body's ready for enzymes. And if you never come back to Holozyme, that's fine. But people just need to know that if you have it in your cupboard today, you're dealing with food sensitivities, double or triple the dose, see if it starts to work. I hope you'll take our product for a test drive versus yours and see what kind of benefits. But you should notice the benefits. Like this is not vitamin D3. Like in 1 week, you should know that this is working. And if it's not, and you double the dose and it's still not working, then it's not a great product, or it's not the product that you need anyways.
So another question I have for you is, how does a person know that she needs enzymes?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're experiencing any food sensitivities, if you're experiencing constant GI issues, diarrhea, loose stools, hard stools, leaky gut, bloating, gas, any of these types of things, this is all suggesting that you're malabsorbing your food and you're not properly breaking it down. Mm-hmm. The other thing is we are born with a reserve of enzymes, kind of like stem cells, like your ovaries, like a lot of things in life. We have a clock kind of on certain parts of our body, and the same is true for our enzyme production. So after 50 or before then, if you lived a pretty intense life and you've kind of burned through a lot of your health resources, you might need them for a while. So anyone who's 60 and over, we have a lot of customers who are in that category who didn't even know that enzymes would be helpful for them. Mm.
Yeah, interesting. Awesome. So that's an interesting one we have from Shannon. Says, I can't see his link. So I will post that in a second, Shannon, again. Sometimes it disappears when you're doing live. Can you post the blah, blah, blah? So she says, you mentioned really bad sensitivities. My current ones are just okay, still bloated, and fear cruciferous vegetables, high fiber, beans, etc. Which is tragic, right? Because cruciferous vegetables are like the healthiest vegetables, not only for your liver, helps you to metabolize estrogen, is nutritionally much more dense compared to, let's say, lettuce or zucchinis, and here is like someone who just can't eat it, right? So, but it's interesting. After that, she also said, yes, I have that wired feeling with magnesium. So this is the same person, right? Mm-hmm. So what would you say to someone like that?
Well, so if we look at cruciferous vegetables and we look at beans, again, this is not new science. It's just that it falls out of the vogue because people get so excited about some sort of new probiotic that has no real data behind it or legacy in medicine. But alpha-galactidase is an enzyme that helps break down beans as well as parts of the cruciferous vegetable family. And so Beano is a high-dose enzyme, basically. It's mixed with a ton of fillers, and it's kind of gross. But if you look at the back of Beano, it's usually either 600 to 1,200 units of alpha-galactidase, which is an enzyme that helps kind of break down those really specific polysaccharides that are high in various types of fibers and especially in legumes and some in cruciferous veggies. So you want a supplement that has that. Now, our newest formulation that's for sale right now, that's live, we just put 450 milligrams or units. It's GADU, I believe, is how each enzyme has its own units. So if you wanted to replicate the Beano dose with an activated version that doesn't have any GMOs, no fillers, no nothing in it, you could try, I guess it would be 6 of our capsules and see if you could tolerate something like that. So that's typically what's going on with that. The other thing that I really want people to understand is there's we have to take into an account that our bodies are an ecosystem. They're very much, I don't know if you remember like 6th grade or 7th grade, whenever it was taught to you around like a biosphere and an ecosystem and how it's all connected and there's, a circle of life. And if we show up with a certain type of food or substrate, nature responds. And so when we're introducing foods and taking them out, you need to be aware that you can't just go from not eating broccoli for 2 months to making a bag of broccoli and having even a whole cup of it. Like if you're a sensitive person, you get to start with like 1/3 of a cup the first day, and then you could go to a half cup or a full cup the next day. But you need to give your body, your microbes, everything inside of you time to warm up to that food. So if you're someone who's like, I don't do well with legumes, you could either try a high dose of a certain type of enzyme with that meal, or you should try eating it more consistently to sort of build up a microbial tolerance as well as an ecosystem tolerance to that.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. And Christina is saying, I had no idea I needed them. I just started taking them and noticed a huge difference in how I feel after eating. That's awesome. Yeah, and here's the funny thing. Somebody earlier mentioned that she doesn't have digestive problems, but she can't lose weight, and no matter what she does. And here's one thing, and I wonder whether you've experienced the same thing, Steve. One of the things is that a lot of people have digestive issues, but they don't even realize that they have them for two reasons. One is because it doesn't manifest, like in some of the things we're talking about, or, which is very common too, is that we get so used to being bloated or so used to having constipation or loose stool that we just kind of be like, I've always been that way, right? Which doesn't make it normal in any way. Have you seen people who don't really have prominent digestive issues yet, enzymes have helped them?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, because again, we this goes into psychology and psychiatry, but as humans, whether you want to look at this from the hedonistic treadmill, like basically that means if you get a raise at your job, it'll be awesome for like a month, and then your lifestyle will expand to this new amount of income. And then in a few months from now, you'll be like, man, I want a raise. Like, I'm not making enough money. And the same is true when it comes to health. If we don't, if no one ever teaches us what is ideal for the human body or optimal, and or if you know it, but you're just kind of not focused there and you're just used to, hey, I burp a little bit, or yeah, I have heartburn from time to time, but it doesn't really hold me back. It's not what I'm focused on.
Yeah.
You kind of, wake up one day and you've built up all these little, I don't know, like little refrigerators on your back. And you're like, man, why do I feel so junky and, heavy and whatever else?
I will tell you that when I developed these food sensitivities to all the FODMAPs foods, I did not have bloating. I did not have constipation problems. My gut was actually working quite fine. There was no food in the stool, no burping, like I said, no bloating. And what
was the reaction then?
Was that?
How did you know that you were having the issue then?
Well, I mean, it's only when I ate high FODMAPs foods, then I get bloated and very gassy. But when I wasn't eating them, without the enzymes, even though my digestion was working properly, I wasn't symptomatic. But then my food sensitivity wasn't going away. That is my whole point. And so avoidance, so I think the conclusion, at least in my case, was that avoidance of these food sensitivities alone wasn't good enough to heal up my gut and those food sensitivities. And so that's why I kind of see your enzymes as being a real accelerator, a real catalyst for healing to happen. And that way freeing folks up from being on the elimination diet for the rest of their lives. Because I mean, just imagine like somebody tells you, here's a 30 foods you're never gonna eat again, and you've been like living off most of your life, right? It's really paralyzing. It's so intimidating, and to a point when some people say, you know what, screw this. I am gonna just continue eating this because that's my comfort food, and there's enough stress already as it is right now, right, in the world. So I think it's a real great catalyst for healing. You can be avoiding these foods and feel somewhat better, but at least I experienced it, that avoidance alone is not. It's not a healer. Karina is saying, I still do have digestive issues that show in the digestive system, but I had hormonal issues and heart palpitations. Okay. Yeah, so hopefully, these enzymes will help. Hey, you guys, I posted the link again. I hope you can see it. And if you are not seeing some of those links, because sometimes when we're doing it live, then you can't see it, then what you can do is make sure you're on our mailing list. We mail 2-3 times a week with some cool content and educational stuff, partners that we love, special promotions, and education, just a lot of education, new recipes, stuff like that. So make sure you're on that. It's on hormonesbalance.com if you're not signed up yet. And then from there, you get the link to Steve's promotion, and like I just posted here, you can save $15 a bottle, or depending on how many you're getting, it can be 74 or so on these enzymes, and the $15 off is already applied automatically in the checkout when you.
So do you want to talk about the HCl?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do like another 5 minutes. I need to dash, and let's then wrap it up.
Okay, so
what I'm talking about is the difference between taking enzymes and HCl pills, correct?
Yeah, I think it's important for people to just understand that. So there are a lot of products on the market that include enzymes and betaine HCl. And hey, look, for someone who really isn't all that banged up, if you try one of those combo packages and it works for you, great. Stay with that. You know, maybe you invest your money somewhere else into hormones or some other mitochondrial support, whatever, detox support. But if you're someone who's probably like, even if you just made it to this, you're tuning in right now, a supplement that includes both enzymes and HCl in the same capsule is probably not going to be strong enough to deal with whatever your digestive tract needs. Now, there's a couple reasons for that. One is that there's only so much room in a capsule to put enough activated product, no matter who's making it. And when it comes to hydrochloric acid, the studies in humans are like 1,500 milligrams to 4,500 milligrams. The anecdotal research from some of the top minds in integrative medicine, like Dr. Jonathan Wright, are somewhere between like 3,000 to 6,000 milligrams per meal. So, you know, getting these in the same product is unlikely unless you really are in more of like a maintenance mode or a preventative measure mode, because there's just not enough milligrams in each capsule.
What about what if you have two products and you kind of like, I don't want to take too many supplements. How do I know when to take HCl and enzymes or taking them together?
Yeah, they can totally be taken together. You know, the quote unquote ideal is maybe like right before your first bite of food with a little bit of water. But if you take them right after a meal, I'm not aware that it's going to be, you know, I've tried this a lot. I'm not on purpose, but just because I forget. And I haven't noticed a ton of difference, but some people say they do. So some people really do have low stomach acid, and you can use an HCl challenge, which I know you've talked about and emailed about in the last year for sure. If you're on HCl, basically that's going to mean that your pH obviously is going to be off. You're hoping to correct that, but pH ranges are what activate the animal enzymes. So remember I said animal enzymes are whole enzymes. So our pancreatic enzymes, our brushwater enzymes are whole enzymes, but they need a certain pH window to work. If you're outside of 7 to 9 for pancreatic enzymes, it's just not going to work. So if you're low acid, if you have low stomach acid, and when the food dumps into the upper small intestine, and then the bile salts and the bicarbonate dump in there, if that pH doesn't get into that range, or if it blows past it into 11, 10, your pancreatic enzymes are not going to work all that well. So that's one of the reasons to use them together. And that's one of the reasons why pretty much if you're on an HCl supplement and it's helping you, you probably could benefit from Holozymes.
We stopped making HCl HCl pills, but you have them, right? You have a special one with licorice in it.
Yeah, HCl Guard. Yeah, it includes prokinetic, organic ginger.
Do you want to very quickly mention how to do the HCl challenge? How does a person know she's got a low stomach acid? Because it sounds like it's really synergistically really important for your enzymes to get activated for a person to have sufficient stomach acid, right? Otherwise, it's not going to be as effective, correct?
Not for our enzymes, but for your internal enzymes, that's correct. So our enzymes are microbial based, so they are active between like 1.7 and 11.9, which is basically most of the pH scale that you'll find in your body. So our enzymes protect against this issue already. However, your own internal enzymes, getting that internal enzyme function optimally working, yes, you do want.
Okay, so your internal as in like the ones that you produce yourself.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So our HCl Guard is different from the one that you sold, from the one that many people sold, because most people with low stomach acid have a prokinetic issue. They do not create a strong enough contraction to move food through the GI tract, and that's one of the reasons why is the low stomach acid. Your pH is a big part of the signal that causes the muscles to contract and move through.
Tell folks, how do you test like quickly at home if you've got a low stomach acid?
go to the local vitamin store, pick up an HCL, pick up somebody's product, and take one with dinner where you have 10 to 15 grams of protein. If you notice nothing, that's pretty much a good sign that already you have some low acid. If you don't have low acid, you will experience some sort of heat sensation, maybe some burning. You can take a teaspoon of baking soda and a little bit of water, and it'll get rid of it right away. That either means you have normal to high acid, or you have some mucus thinning. So you have some sort of gastritis and or ulcer happening. Mm-hmm. So if you look at the people like Dr. Steven Sandberg-Lewis, he's a leading naturopathic gastroenterologist. Dr. Jonathan Wright, they do these capsule tests to test people with IBS in their clinics, who has low acid, who has high acid. Mm-hmm. When they run 100 people through this test, they find about 80% of people have low acid. So just because you have high acid,
people with gastric acid and GERD and everything coming back up. That's another conversation. I'm just gonna take 2 quick questions and then we're gonna wrap up. Shen is asking, Elizabeth is asking, is it okay for kids to take enzymes?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah. Do you adjust the doses for kiddos?
Yeah, you can open the capsules. So the Holozymes, you can open the capsules, put those in their food. I'm not your pediatrician, so clear that with them.
Yeah. You want to adjust it probably based on weight of the kiddo, and so pediatrician is a good person to ask. Shannon, sorry.
But also, it's just worth mentioning that enzyme usage systemically and food-wise is used in the autism community for like decades.
Yeah. Shannon is asking, if you had your gallbladder removed, should you be on HCL?
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent against ox bile. I don't think you're going to need that if you actually get your enzymes and your HCL correct. Not everybody who has their gallbladder moved has low stomach acid. Again, we just said maybe 70–80% chance. But pretty much without a gallbladder, your chance of having great enzymes the rest of your life is pretty low. So.
Actually, this is a really good question. So let's just take this to wrap up, and then we wrap up the call. Marietta is saying, what does it mean when I experience acid coming up my throat in the morning if I'm running late with breakfast? This is something new for me, and it starts like this, and I cannot make it go away almost all day. I use HCL with betaine made by Now, 648 milligrams, and I think this actually messed me up. What should I do? Is my stomach acid low?
Well, first thing is, I'm a big fan of like not suffering and getting out of pain. That's why I was like, Magdalena, stop trying to figure this out and just try these enzymes and it'll work. And then it might heal everything else. And it did. But anyways, for this scenario, if you're having acid reflux, you don't want to hop on a PPI. You don't want to get some sort of addiction to that type of drug class. Baking soda. Baking soda is your friend. You can take it for athletic performance, or you can just take a teaspoon in water, half teaspoon in water, and usually make that burn go away. Now makes a fine. It's just a standard HCL. It doesn't include any prokinetics or healing agents, but that's just fine to do the HCL challenge. So for that woman, she would need to probably repeat the test when she's in a calm, relaxed state at dinner. Have a piece of chicken that's the size of your palm. That should be about 15 grams, 12 to 15 grams. Have 3 eggs, something like that. That should get you into that protein window. And if you take one of those capsules from the Now brand and you have the reflux, you're in that weird class where you could have the gastritis. You're describing heartburn, which is pretty much always low stomach acid. But you can have these counter reactions, like the person who takes magnesium and gets wired. And the reason why would be typically mucus thinning in the stomach. You're going to want to take DGL. Usually that's a great healing herb, used a ton in Asia. It's used here as well from the...
Yeah, DGL is a standardized licorice, just so that, because Steve is throwing it out around a lot of terms, and not everybody's familiar with that, Steve.
Yeah, sorry. So deglycerinized licorice root, 1,000 to up to 3,000 milligrams a day for about 30 days, usually helps heal that mucus lining. However, it thinned for a reason. Typically, that's related to some sort of hormone dysregulation, or H. pylori infection, something like
that. Okay, Christy's asking, can you have low stomach acid and not have heartburn?
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. thank you for being here with us today. And I'm off, you guys. I'm going to Hot Spring to work on 2021 plan for the business, for the company, for my team. So I'm kind of excited about that. And it's always like, it's so much better to get away, just to be able to kind of really focus on the bigger picture of things. I hope this was helpful for everybody. And the links are going to be posted. I think once the transition finishes, the links are going to be there. If you're not subscribed to my mailing list, get on hormonesbalance.com. We're sending out an email, I believe it's on Sunday, that's going to have the links to Steve's product. And it really is an amazing product. You know, it's just, I just feel like I've just regained my freedom when it comes to food and going out and not being feeling trapped and limited and all that. So we're getting a lot of thank yous and awesome, good information, Maria is saying. Thank you, Steve, and I will see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.